I always start with, you got to have something quality. And quite frankly, a first-time author is not educated enough to know whether their book is good or not. I mean, they look at it, they think it's good. Their friend tells them it's good. Their mom tells them it's good. You really don't know if it's good. Once you self-publish, you can know it's good, because if people aren't recommending it through word of mouth, that's a really good indicator that it wasn't very good.
What you're about to hear is part 2 of a 2-part interview that we did with Michael and Robin Sullivan, who, through their Kickstarters, are basically creating what I think of as kind of the third publishing wave. So, the first publishing wave, you submit a book to a traditional publisher, and if they like it, they pick it up, they publish it, they put it in bookstores. The second wave was when Kindle came along, and all of a sudden you could now really easily self-publish books. I think what Michael and Robin Sullivan are doing through their Kickstarters is they're really creating this third wave where they're creating a way for authors to directly launch their books to readers, cutting out the middlemen, keeping more of the profits, and retaining more of their independence in the process. So if you haven't already listened to part 1 of this 2-part episode, go back and check that out first so that you have some context for this. The link to that will be down in the show notes below if you're listening to this as a podcast, or down in the description if you're watching the YouTube video. And if you have already seen that, welcome to part 2. It only gets better from here. So if you enjoyed part 1, you will really like this episode. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers.
Just for our listeners, so it's like, wow, this sounds awesome. I need to do a Kickstarter, but there are a whole lot of people who might say, okay, I've never written a book, but I really want to write a book, but I won't be able to afford to do the artwork and what's needed to get it done. So I'll do a Kickstarter. And even though it is an advance, kind of what the money you get, that, in my experience, has been a very risky one. I would say that unless you have your first book, your manuscript written at least, and some sort of group of people that you can get out and reach, it's a risky proposition unless you're really looking for only $1,500 or $2,500. Then you just might get those people. Now, somebody like Mike or Rob would do really well with Kickstarter, really well, because they have a
an audience,
fan base.
Yeah,
and I've been giving Fletcher and Rob the Robin treatment.
Do it, Dirk.
On occasion. Now, Rob, it's a little tougher because he's in England. Though you can get from fulfillment houses in the US and printers.
Yeah.
The only you just have to do inserts for your signed sheets.
Yeah.
Or print them in, and it wouldn't be that big a deal. But I just wanted to. So, what would you say to brand new people who have never done Kickstarters, people who are just starting out? How does Kickstarter apply to them?
If you're just starting out, actually, it's really good, because people who are just starting out who don't necessarily know if their book is any good, what they should do is, you're right, if they finish the book, or at least have a lot of it done, they can actually post a large portion of it. And if they don't get funded, it's like a slush fund, right? You send it into a traditional publisher, and they're going to say, sorry, this isn't any good. And then they'll have to go do another book. But you can actually use this as a means of determining whether your book is any good.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, you are?
I am.
What's the
So here's my stance on things. First of all, I will say this. I know many authors who did their very first book on Kickstarter and earned good money on it. And I'm talking in excess of $10,000, okay? I'm really amazed that they did so, to be honest with you. I do think that Kickstarters are really great for people who have already been in publishing for a while. I would not recommend to someone to start off, as you said, Dirk, like they haven't even written a book, doing a Kickstarter, because there's a few things. Number one, and I hope I'm not offending anyone here, but the very first book you write are generally not very good.
Yeah, almost always garbage.
At least in my opinion. Michael's first book, it was not very good. You know, his 13th
I don't
book
believe that.
was very good. You know?
I was 13.
Oh,
It was.
okay.
Yeah. But anyways, so you know, with anything, I think you need to put out something that's quality. I always start with you got to have something quality. And quite frankly, a first-time author is not educated enough to know whether their book is good or not. I mean, they look at it, they think it's good, their friend tells them it's good, their mom tells them it's good. You really don't know if it's good. Once you self-publish, you can know it's good because if people aren't recommending it through word of mouth, that's a really good indicator that it wasn't very good, right? If you don't have other people recommending it, then you know you kind of missed the mark. When I do my lectures all the time, I did a lecture a couple weeks ago, and this person says, you know, I know a lot of self-published authors, and they're not doing very well. You know, what can they do to make their books sell? And I said, well, I'm going to venture to say their books aren't very good.
Write a better book.
You know, so they need to write a better book, because if you write a good book, you have to get it in front of a core group of people. But once you do, they're the ones that will make the book work, because they're going to tell this person to read the book and they're going to tell that person to read. I mean, any successful book lives and died by word of mouth. That's my personal opinion.
An interesting thing. We used to have different debates, and I think Robin's changed her mind. I'm going to find out right now if she did. So
this could be exciting.
I was always under the impression that if you write a really good book and you can get it in front of eyes, it will do eventually well.
I believe that.
Robin was also under the impression that actually marketing is more important than the good book, because if you get it out there in such a way and you do things right, you'll get a lot of eyes on it, and even bad books can do very well. But actually, I think she may have changed her situation on that to some degree, that there are so many that if you do a really great book, you don't need that much marketing, because the real marketing, the best marketing you can possibly have is word of mouth. If you can write a book where someone else feels after reading it that it is their life's goal to make sure that everyone they know reads that book, you don't have to put hardly any money in the promotion. It takes care of itself. And people trust other people they know way more than they do the internet or any kind of promotional ad. So that's what I was advocating. And in my case, I discovered that if you do that, you can work a heck of a lot less. You can just put out that one book a year, and you can spend a lot of your time making it a better book. And as a result of that, you keep getting better. And as a result of that, you keep getting more and more readers. And you do a lot less work. Whereas a lot of independent writers will be putting out a ridiculous number of books because they have to. Because if they lose that curve, then they're going to lose their sales, and then they have no way to pay their bills at the time. So to you, Robin, do you still maintain that it's the advertising and the promotion that is more important to getting a book to sell, or is it a more well-written novel?
Okay, so you started your premise by saying you write a really good book and you get it in front of some people.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that is the formula for success. Okay, now, in the case of this person who was talking about their self-published friends who don't have very good sales, I said, well, one of two things has happened. Either you haven't read a good book, or you haven't gotten in front of enough people. I mean, you need that pump primed, and that can be primed through, that can be primed through advertising. That can be primed through, doing a sale on your book where you sell it really low, and then suddenly a lot of people got the book. But you do need to get it in front of a core group of people. Okay.
Or you could do it the way we did it, which was literally handing the book to individuals.
Well, that was a stupid way of doing it. And
but it worked.
That's a hard row to hoe. But I do think that if you don't have a good book, like if you have a bad book, let me put it this way. If you have a bad book, no amount of marketing is going to save it. Because if it's a bad book, you will not get enough people following it. Now, when you talk about good and bad, I mean, I define good as a book, any book that's good, in my opinion, is a book that someone will recommend. Okay. There are some self-published authors that sell tons of books that if I read it, I would say this really isn't a great book.
Well, everyone knows those books out there who are incredibly popular and sold tremendous amounts that you would say this is crap.
Yeah, when
I'm not going to name names, but everyone knows it.
Twilight. Twilight is a good example, right? Twilight's a bad book.
Although she read it and loved it,
but it scratched a particular itch. If you scratch an itch such that I know there are a lot of there are a lot of lit RPG books that I've read that I've enjoyed immensely. They're filled with grammar errors, right? But I'm okay with that because the grammar errors aren't bugging me. The story captivated me. It kept me reading.
So good is something that is entertaining to people enough that they want to recommend.
Yes. I'm not saying it has to be something that,
doesn't have to be Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah. Who was that editor who always made everyone's books better? The guy that worked with Tom with
it's
Wolf.
At the tip of my tongue. I can't remember.
Anyways, Maxwell
Perkins.
Yeah, you don't have to be Wolf and Perkins to create this masterpiece that everyone says, "Oh, this is a great book." You have to
like Michael J. Sullivan.
You have to scratch a particular itch. You have to have a certain degree of quality. And so for a new person, I just don't think they can know whether they have that. And I would say self-publish first. But anyone who is self-published and has a following, you definitely should be doing Kickstarters because you've already proved that you scratch an itch. You already proved that you have a book that's worthy.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're traditional or self. If you have, let's say you have 2 books out in a series and you want to make that last book, and maybe in that last book as part of it, you want to do a complete set maybe of hardcovers or something.
Right.
You have readers. If you have readers, and they will then go out and tell other readers, plus you'll get a whole new audience through Kickstarter, that's going to generate enough buzz and enough money for you to produce the project. And if it doesn't, okay, so you don't do that.
So
you're not out anymore.
Going back to your question, Dirk, I have seen people do well with debut novels. I think that's more the exception than the rule. Yeah. And I would, if someone came to me and put my hand to the fire to say, I want to write a book and do a Kickstarter for it, I would not suggest they do that.
But I've often seen people who have tried doing their first book and they put it out there and they didn't get funded. And it's understandable. And I think that's kind of a test, okay, I'm not there yet. I need to do more and I need to make a book.
But it could be the way they did their Kickstarter too. We are running long, so this is the last thing I'll say about Kickstarters. If you're thinking about doing a Kickstarter, go and look up the Kickstarters that Michael has done and steal everything that he's did. Look at his pricing model. Look at how he sets up, what he does for add-ons, what he does for stretch goals, how he sets up his page. He talks a little bit about himself. He talks a little bit about the book. He talks a little bit about why he's raising the money. I
use
think
it as a template.
It's a good template. I think that it's a model that would work with most people. We price our Kickstarters exactly where people get it through retail. So if you're going to spend, $25 for the book in retail, you're going to spend $25 for the book on Kickstarter. If you're going to spend $10 on the book, for the ebook, it's $10 for the book on Kickstarter, because we are pre-selling. And some of the Kickstarters I've seen that have gone really poorly is because people have just really bad reward levels. I mean, the reason why I want you to look at our reward levels and steal is we have something for the person who only has $5, and we have something for the person who has $150, right? There's a large spread in there. If you got $25 to spend, there is something compelling for you at the $25 level. But I've seen some Kickstarters where the lowest thing you can get into is $75, right?
Yeah.
That's going to fail as soon as you see the Kickstarter. I mean, people approach me and say, will you tell people about my Kickstarter and look at their Kickstarter? I was like, I can't recommend this Kickstarter to anybody because you're trying to sell an ebook at $25. Nobody wants an ebook for $25. No, I can't help
and we
you
know
there.
that the Model T sold more than any other car. It made a lot of money, even though it was priced less than the other car. So yeah, you can make a lot of money by selling something for cheap. So,
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of editing done in this show, apparently, to make it either squeeze down or fit in. I'm not.
No. This is fine. This is actually incredible.
But if you want more padding or like B-roll, you can ask us some more questions.
I would like to ask, if you do have time, I would love to ask a couple of quick ones. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to think about whether we cut this episode up into 2 parts or whether we just do one big long masterclass thing, because this has been incredible.
We have one episode with just me, and we could just,
I'll get my editor to just like CGI Robin out of the picture and transfer her voice into your voice.
Behind me.
If you can CGI, you make it more attractive.
Yes, that's right. No, I may have to pay Adrian some extra money for that CGI. Yeah, well, I think you have really convinced me that maybe for my next book, I should attempt the Kickstarter route, because I've published 3 novels. I had a game that came out recently, and I feel like I'm at the point now where there is enough of an audience where I would feel confident that I would maybe be able to make the goal work. So with that in mind, like if it's probably going to be like, let's say 6 months away until that book is ready, for example, what stuff should I be looking at today to try to set myself up for that milestone?
So again, by following, kind of follow our platform and follow our rule. So what we generally do is we run the Kickstarter right when the book is about to go into final copy editing. So we have the book done, right?
Yeah.
And we tell people, that, it's going to be going to the copy editors next week, and the copy editors are going to take 6 weeks and whatever. Because I would never run a Kickstarter for something that Mike's not done with, because quite frankly, there has been at least one novel where he got done with the book and I'm like, oh, this should not see the light of day. And he wasn't interested in fixing it, so it remained in the trunk, right? So you got to know that the book is going to exist, and by the time you get to copy editing, you're at that stage. I would also say start telling your fan base, if you do newsletters and stuff, pick a date somewhere out where you're going to do your Kickstarter. Like, for instance, our next Kickstarter is going to be in February of next year. So I'm telling people right now, reserve this date, February 9th, 2023. That's when the Ezra Hutton Kickstarter is going to be. Let them know that it's coming. Let them know that it's coming.
Nice plug.
I don't even know. I don't know if that's the date. I know it's in February. I haven't picked the actual date. But anyways, tell them that you're doing a Kickstarter in the future, because one of the things you do want to do is you want to have the Kickstarter kind of launch with like a big push. And one of the techniques you can do for that is, and we didn't do them last time, but we have for all of our other Kickstarters, is you can run early bird specials. And if you tell your people there'll be an early bird special, so you either do a set number of items or you do a set amount of time, where you tell people, if you get into the Kickstarter early, you're going to get 20% off this reward level. So if the reward level was normally 25, they can get it for 20, right? And again, that will get, when our Kickstarters launch, I mean, literally, it won't, the updates happen, you'll watch it be 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, like in 15 seconds, we'll have $60,000 in the scroll.
That's incredible.
Not like Sanderson's. Sanderson's was doing that the whole time. Like, it was just rolling. But you do want to get, a lot of people in early. So plan early, pick a date, start advertising that date. Think about early bird specials and tell people, hey, I'm going to be running this Kickstarter. There's going to be an early bird special. So if you sign up early, and I would say, think about the time of day that you launch your Kickstarter. Like, we try to make our Kickstarter work for people in Europe and the East Coast and the West Coast, so although we have had people, when we did early birds, we literally had people setting alarms and getting up at 2:00 in the morning, coming in, hitting buy, and then going back to sleep. I mean, that's how crazy this stuff can get.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But, I think those types of things can really help you. And start building your Kickstarter now. Like, you can flesh out like what you say, because then you can start showing it to people. You can show it to Dirk, and Dirk might look at it and say, I think you're missing an opportunity, because you should have, like, for instance, for our Kickstarters, we always bundle our ebooks with our paperbacks or our hardcovers. So you can't get the ebook on its own. For some people, that doesn't make sense. The reason why we do that is that's how I can get them the story 3 months earlier, because I know I can get the ebook to them. But for someone else, it might be, well, the ebook is a level on its own, so you don't bundle it. So make your Kickstarter, show it to some other people, show it to us. Send me a link and say, I've got this Kickstarter over here. Just take a look at it and tell me what you think. And I'll look at it and I'll tell you, well, I think you need a little bit more history about your background. The other thing that I will say about Kickstarters and why some of these Kickstarters have funded that, where people don't know any of them, a lot of it comes down to personality. Like there's this one thing that I suggest to all of my lectures. There's this guy called Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book.
Start with Why.
Start with Why. Yes. Yeah. Isn't he great? Isn't he like the greatest ever? Right.
Just a really good approach to leadership.
Yeah. And what Simon Sinek really teaches people is it's not what you're selling, it's why you made it. What compelled me? What was my why? Why did I make something? And I think that in Kickstarters are a real great way of putting your why on display, right? Like, when Mike first started publishing, grimdark was all that there was, right? And his books are very not grimdark. So he was looking for, what publishers told him, and the reason why he got so hard to get publishers is they're like, nobody wants to read like good traditional fantasy where where might isn't right and where the underdog,
where there are basic heroes.
Yeah, where there are real heroes that are striving to do good. People don't want that anymore. They want the Breaking Bad. They want the Joe Abercrombie. They want the Mark Lawrence. They're not interested in this. And Mike's like, I'm interested in this. I think other people are interested in that. So that's part of his why, right? And that kind of stuff can come through in your Kickstarter. So whether it's through your video or how you message it, I really suggest anyone either read the book, Start with Why, or watch Simon Sinek's TED Talk. It's a 20-minute TED Talk. I think it's called like How Leaders Encourage Action or something. Just look up Simon Sinek, Sinek. And use that as part of your Kickstarter, because part of the reasons why some Kickstarters, I have backed hundreds of Kickstarters where I didn't care about the item at all, but I liked that person. I liked what they were doing. I liked their passion. I liked their story of why they got into writing in the first place and what they're trying to do with writing. And I saw that and I was like, I don't care if I ever get the book. I don't care if I ever read the book. I just want to financially support this person. And I think there are a lot of people who back Kickstarters for just that reason. So really show what's unique about you through your Kickstarter.
So very short question, a little bit longer answer.
Shut up.
That's fantastic. I massively appreciate that.
You made a mention. I saw Jed smile when you talked about waking up in the middle of the night to hit the press button. So when I first started publishing, it was during the time when J.K. Rowling was doing her midnight openings for her book sales at the bookstore.
Nice.
Like see it on TV in the news at night, like look at people coming out the doors.
Yep.
So what I did was that I released my second book, Avanpartha. I kind of pretended on my blog that, oh my God, so we're having a midnight release. And it was just make believe because I didn't think anyone was even reading my blog, and I don't think they were. So, but it was just funny that now actually they do get up in the middle of the night and they press that button. So it's kind of a weird technological equivalent
to the thing. Yeah.
So what time do you normally launch then that works across all those time zones?
So we do ours at noon. Is it noon?
Okay.
I think it's noon.
Yeah, it's noon.
Yeah, because then
high noon.
Yeah, because then what time when it's noon on the East Coast? What time is it in England?
5.
Oh, you like
5 a.m. So it's not that early.
No.
And then it's and then it's like 3. Is it noon? I think it's noon.
We always launch it.
Yeah, we launch at noon, and we always end at 7 p.m. Eastern because we do a little party. And I don't know why we do it at that time because there are people inevitably on those video calls that are up and they're like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning here.
It's hilarious because part of the Kickstarter show always has a thing where we get together and we do a Zoom call where everyone just basically can come and see us talk and talk to them. And invariably they all come and they go, oh, thank you for doing this. I'm like, you guys just bought my book.
Yeah.
You just allowed me to write
a lot
stuff
of you.
I daydreamed. Yeah.
I should be thanking you.
Yeah, you make our dreams possible. So no, thank you. Don't thank us.
That is incredible. Michael, Rob, I just want to give you an opportunity. Do you have any questions that you want to fire away?
They can talk.
They're mute. Where do I find a Robin?
What? I didn't know what Michael said.
Where do I find somebody to actually do all this shit for me?
Yeah. So this is not about I even hate to go here. This is not about me trying to promote something, but I will never take a penny from authors, right?
You are allowed to promote here, Robin.
Well, yeah, no, go for it. You've given so much amazing advice.
I feel very awkward about this.
We never promote. When I go to conventions and my publisher wants me to promote, they say, bring a book and put it in front of you. I never do it.
Yeah.
They go, you need a book. I'm like, no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't care.
So for years I have run Michael's Kickstarters, and I'm having some cognitive function issues, and I can't do what I used to be able to do. So one of the things I've done is I'm trained my son on I call it I feel like I'm on the Titanic, and before the boat sinks, I have to build a raft, and my son James is my raft. So I have been working very hard to instill all that I know about Kickstarters into James. And publishing. And so now James has started up a company to run Kickstarters for authors. He did the Kickstarter for Will White. He did one for David Estes. He did one for AC Cobble. Mm-hmm. And he's done ours. So my son, James, will... The great thing about having James do a Kickstarter is you don't have to do anything. I mean, literally, these other authors... Now, AC Cobble's actually a little more involved in his Kickstarter than that, but like Will White, Will hasn't lifted... I mean, all the comments that come in, James answer. He sets up the Kickstarter. He does all the updates. He coordinates with the printer. He will do the fulfillment. He'll do all that.
You know how you know this is not a promo?
What?
Because he doesn't want any more business.
Yeah.
The downside is she keeps bringing in business. He's like, no, Mom, no, I don't want any more. I have enough.
Yeah. The downside is James is, he's only got certain throughput. And it's interesting.
Word of mouth has really spread quickly. For you guys'
business. And he's got to be very careful that he doesn't overcommit and then underperform, right? Because he's just one person. So my son James is now doing this. I hope that someone will see James doing this and start
competing against him.
Right. I hope that there are more, because when I did a talk on Kickstarter recently, I mentioned James, and people said there's no one who's doing this. I don't know of any. Do you know of any? Do you know of anyone who does that? I mean, and it is a lot of work. And the beauty about James is the way James works is he takes a percentage of the Kickstarter, right? Mm-hmm. So like you don't have to put money out. And if the Kickstarter doesn't fund, well, then he's out the time that it took him to put it together. But like Pledgebox that I mentioned and BackerKit that I mentioned, their model is they take a cut of your Kickstarter money. Mm-hmm. So it works out very well because all you're doing is just like you're paying 3% to the credit card processor for processing it, you're paying 5% to James for running the Kickstarter. And then when he does fulfillment, he charges the exact same thing for fulfillment that Box In, Box Out was charging me for fulfillment. And those were, quite frankly, the lowest prices I could find anywhere. So I know it's really well priced. And quite frankly, I won't let James gouge authors, because if so, he inherits nothing.
We have a really nasty way of making sure that our children follow our morals.
You want to make sure your children do what they're supposed to. You threaten to not give them any inheritance, right?
Speak softly and carry a big will.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So James is doing these now. Now he can't do it for everyone, and and certain projects won't make sense for him, but he hopefully he will start a trend. Just when we started doing self-publishing, there was nobody doing covers for self-published authors
or anything,
right? They did not exist. Yeah. You could not find a self-published cover designer. There was no such thing. What do we have now? So hopefully there will be more companies that will come.
By having them out there, this will be an example, and hopefully someone will do this as well.
Yeah.
Kickstarter would be happy.
Very cool.
But even without James, a lot of it you can get done through the fulfillment partners, like the Flow Ship and the Ship Bob. Dirk has shipped his own stuff. He knows is a pain in the ass. Other people are doing their own shipping.
It's a lot of work.
I loved it when Box In, Box Out was doing mine. Now I do it myself, but my son's doing it, and he hires my daughter as labor. So other people are doing it.
Actually, she still does most of it.
I don't.
She does.
I don't.
But it's a good thing because, see, she's trying to lose weight. And
yes,
gets her
I use it to.
I mean, she literally moves tons. I mean, I'm talking literal tons of boxes. So it gives her good.
Some people have to pay to go to the gym. Basically get paid to go to the gym.
Investments at the annex is we now have a forklift that allows me to put things on the top shelves without having to literally toss up books.
Although now that we've filled the basement of the annex, or we will with books, we won't be able to go and use it as a giant VR room.
It is a good VR room.
Oh, what?
Right
and we were playing, what was it? Super hot.
Yeah.
And she gets a wonderful workout for doing that game. Yeah. So.
And my daughter crawls along the floor. When she's trying to do super hot, she's like kneecapping people with her swords and stuff.
But yeah, it's a good workout done.
Well, so what I've learned so far is that your place has an old church. You're building an office that has a fridge in it and a hotspot.
No, that's actually part of the annex. That's the
part of the annex.
Forklift.
Yeah, that's forklift. That sounds incredible.
That's the upper floor of the annex is Mike's writing area.
So,
and the lower floor is shipping.
So, Dirk,
that is so cool.
When are you going to organize all these people and pay for an air flight out to Virginia to meet the Virginians?
Yeah.
That'd be incredible.
Anytime. I'd love to do it right now.
You do a live show broadcast. You get some big lights, big,
we could do it in the basement of the annex.
We could do it in the basement.
Yeah,
or
we have to do it on
the deck.
On the deck. We got to do it on the deck of the annex.
Yeah, because the mountains are beautiful. Yeah. That would be good.
Somehow we have to work out some sort of time and space portal to get Jed here because he's in a different universe.
That's right.
We went out to dinner last night. It was a 3-hour affair because it took us an hour and a half to drive to dinner. So
we live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like I said, I teach
my entire country.
I'm trying to get the writers to come out and actually meet me because we've been doing it. I started it in 2020 because I figured, what else are you going to do on a Saturday night? So everyone comes and we used to meet. So I'm trying to get actually come here, and the farthest ones away are in Western Canada. Where is it? Michael, are you from Canada?
Yeah, but he's straight north.
Toronto.
Oh, so you're not
north.
that far. Okay.
Yeah.
But this was Calgary or something. And so I'm trying to, and they couldn't come over here because the borders were closed. So I couldn't get them to come. So now is about time where you could probably get together. So they're coming out this fall, but I think there's only 3 or 4 of them that might come. So I don't know.
Mike he's got a little group that he's trying to teach people how to write.
And he's just not as effective browbeating people online. It's much more effective when you do it in person. It scares the crap out of
Well, then you can literally hit them with the stick.
Although one of them recently wrote to me and they said they had a nightmare that I wrote them an email saying the book they're working on is absolute crap and they have to start over. And I said, thank you. Now I know that I'm haunting your dreams and giving you nightmares. I've achieved the goal of every teacher.
Yep.
Nice. That is impressive.
To quote the Muppet movie, if I can inflict a little pain during the day, I sleep better at night.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to come over sometime. I'm currently trying to negotiate with my day job to go down to 3 days a week and a fully remote arrangement so that I can travel and stuff. So if that goes through, I might be able to come over in a couple of months.
We've had people come here from Saudi Arabia and Shanghai. Dirk remembers that. They brought liquor that no one can drink. Sweden, Italy, France. I mean, people come from all over the world. I don't know why. I've never figured this out, but they do. And we had one guy who came here twice, didn't he, from Saudi Arabia?
He did.
I mean, that was crazy.
Although I made him stain part of the
we put you to work sometimes if you're obnoxious. If you stay here too long, we actually...
if anyone has good
start shifting boxes around.
If anyone has any good drywall mudding experience, that's what's happening in the church right now.
We are not above putting you to work.
Yeah.
I did used to be an architect, so I might be able to help out there. But,
there you go.
Yeah,
Mike could help with a little instruction on the forklift.
Yeah.
Nice.
He knows a bit about forklifts.
Experience.
Nice.
Why don't I picture him like the woman from Alien? Where I
got it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The last thing that the annex is doing is we're reworking our threshold for getting the books over, physically in the building. It's not ideal because I don't have a roll up door. I have a door, and we're doing a lot of engineering on that to try and make it work right. But we think we got it beat.
She never does anything normal. Let's put it that way.
No,
but it's always
awesome,
good at the end.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, this has been an incredible episode. Yeah,
and I think the record for our longest episode.
Sorry, we always.
Yeah, no. This is incredible. This is honestly like, I feel that I have just had a 3-year university education downloaded into my brain over the course of the last hour. So, thank you so much for everything that you shared about this. And yeah, this is
a disclaimer.
Been incredible.
Yeah.
Do not invite us unless you have a lot of fans.
No.
No, this was great. I think you'll probably be getting a lot of people who want to interview you after hearing all the wisdom that you've just been able to share. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to
do his thing?
Is there anything that you would like to promote or mention, or I don't know, just tell our listeners before we wrap it up?
Okay, so we explained. We don't promote. At least I don't. She does. That's why she's always with me. She's the one who says, "Oh, this is what he does," and I'm like, "No, shut up. We don't do it." But no, enough people know who we are.
We're good.
We're good. We're all
okay,
good.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, thank you so much for joining us. And if you have listened or watched all the way to the end of this episode, congratulations. I'm sure that a lot of people will have, because this is incredible. I've learned a lot. And we'll see you next time on next week's episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thanks, Mike, Robin.
As we end this episode, I wanted to give a big shout out to our Patreons who help support the show, and an extra special shout out to our legendary wizard patrons, Taylon and Daniel. If you want to help support the show and get access to a huge library of exclusive patron-only episodes, go to patreon.com/wizardswarriorswords. You can find the link in the show notes below. Thanks for watching.